Hi there, this is Patty, and what we're going to do right now is we're going to each explain to our viewers why we decided to get into the paranormal um, investigation business. My son, as you guys have all probably heard of him and heard us talk about him in our videos, our son Gary, he passed away January 2nd, 2015. He suffered from brain tumors, depression, anxiety. He was extremely worried about his health. We all were. And he went through hell. He turned to alcohol, started drinking quite a bit, which he wasn't really a drinker, so we were all kind of shocked when he turned to alcohol, but I guess he felt like he just wanted to drink his troubles away, like a lot of people do. And it ended up causing him to lose his life. He died by suicide, and it's been the hardest thing that I've ever went through in my life. I can't even compare anything else to the pain of losing my child and her losing her brother, losing her nephew. I've got a lot of support, that's for sure. Gary was a big part of our lives, and he still is on the other side. He always said that if something were to happen to him, which he felt like it was going to, and we all, of course didn't want to think that way, but I just think he just got tired of just dealing with the stress of worrying whether it's turning into cancer and things like that. But he's a big part of our investigation. He's always popping up. He's always saying things to let us know it's him. He's done so many things even before we started doing this to communicate with us, given us signs here and there. We've captured his image in several pictures, especially at the cemetery. She's had very vivid dreams, which she's had vivid dreams since she was about 4 years old, where she would dream about something and it would come true. And this has gone on all her life, since she was about, 4? And then when it started?
Yeah, it really proved to me, though, when I was 10, when something happened. It just seemed like I would dream that my animals were going to die, and then they were dead the next day, or it was like just sudden things like that. I would dream that somebody was going to die, and then they would die a week later, 2 weeks later, and I could never really tell when it was going to happen, but I know I dreamed it, and I would talk about it, and people would say, "Oh, you just dreamed that happened," and I did, and it just something that's always kind of freaked me out. Well, I pretty much I dreamed also that my brother was going to die, and I seen his funeral, I seen where it was going to take place, I seen everything, and I told him about it, and I told my mom about it, and lots of people, and I knew it was something to do with the head, because I seen it in my dream, and I thought there was something like a sickness, like something was wrong with him. I just didn't know what. I didn't know how he was going to die, but I knew he was going to die because I seen him and everything, and turned out he did, and it wasn't the first person. So it creeps me out a little bit that I have that, because I don't really know what to do to stop it. I pray about it, but it still happens.
Yeah, so. To this day. And when we were planning Gary's funeral, we originally wanted to have him buried where my parents are buried. Turned out it was way too expensive. I didn't have enough life insurance to cover, that particular funeral home and cemetery. So we were forced to find, other alternatives, which we did. We found a great cemetery to put him in. But when we walked into the first place where I wanted to have him buried, where my mom and dad's funeral was, where they were buried, when we walked in there, she even said something didn't feel right.
It wasn't the right spot.
And I didn't understand what she meant. I'm like, well, what do you mean? None of this feels right. Of course, none of it feels right.
I have goosebumps right now.
Yeah, it's like none of this feels right. And we were all just under a tremendous amount of pain and stress and heartache, and we were still in shock and grieving. And having to plan a funeral for my son and her brother. And my sister came down immediately from Maryland and, and helped us through everything. She was a huge help. And thank you for that, because you were.
Yes,
She
you
was
were.
right
Thank
by my
you.
side, helping me with everything.
We were
I
a
don't know
mess.
how I would have done it without her help. And so when we walked into the funeral home that we did have his funeral at, which was way cheaper, just as good a job as the other place would have done probably, she knew as soon as she walked in that that was the spot she had dreamed that his funeral was going to be at.
I knew where a particular door was going to be, where he was going to be standing near, and that we were going to exit out that door. And the funeral director, right when I walked in, I started crying, and I said, "Oh my God, this is it. This was my dream." And in the dream, Gary was standing at the front, and there was a door, and that's the door we exited out of. And the guy actually even said that. He said, "Actually, that's the door you guys are going to walk out of after we leave with your brother to head to the cemetery." And we had no clue when we walked in that that was the door we would exit out of, but I already knew because of my dream.
I'll never forget
Pretty
the look
amazing.
on her face, and when she
I
looked
remember
around in
that.
there. Remember that?
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh my God, this is it." She started crying, and she's like, "This is it. This is what I imagined, Mom. This is where I dreamed that he was going to be buried. Not buried, but where the funeral was going to be." She
And the
imagined.
door he was going to go, his
Yeah.
body was going to be
Yep.
wheeled out of.
I can
Everything.
still see him standing there in my dream, and
Yeah.
he was in spirit form in my dream, talking to me, telling me that he loved me and stuff.
And then after he passed away, we had several experiences. One that kind of stands out to me was I had stayed at her house. At the time I lived in Pinellas County. I lived in Seminole. And she lived up here in Spring Hill, where I'm at now. And I stayed the weekend with her, because I decided I couldn't live in that home anymore after what happened. I had been there for 15 years, but I just said, I can't live here now. There's just no way I can live in this house now. So I immediately started packing. She's like, "Where are you going to go?" I said, "I have no clue. I've got to buy another house. I can't live here. I'm going to rent it out and move. I want to move up there by you." So I come up here, spent the weekend with her. That night, he came to her. And I'll let her explain that. But what's really weird about it is the same night he came to my grandson Brock, which is my son Gary's son. The same night. And at the morning when I woke up, the next morning when I woke up, when I sat down, I was getting coffee and I sat down in the living room, and Brock says, "Grandma, Daddy came to me last night. I saw him." And I'm like, "What?" And I could tell by the look on his face, he was for real. He really seen something. He described to me to a T what he did. What he knelt down next to him. He was glowing. He was bluish and a whitish color, and it said his skin looked like porcelain. And said he knelt down next to him, touched his hand, and said, "I'm sorry, Brock. I love you very much." And then he got up and walked away. And then he was trying to stop. He woke up and he said he felt like he was dreaming it, but then again he felt like he wasn't dreaming it. That's kind of the way he explained it to me. He's like, I wasn't sure, you know. He goes, but it felt so real. Well, the next morning, not the next morning, that same morning, it was about a half hour later, I believe, that she woke up. She comes out of the room and tells me almost the exact same thing happened to her that same night. You go ahead and tell them what happened with you.
Well, that was the same night that I think we were at your house in Seminole before that. It was that earlier that day before,
Yeah.
right? Well, she had given me a shirt of Gary's. I wanted something of his to sleep in or to remind me of him, and it was actually the shirt that I'm wearing
We're
right
all
now.
wearing
This
shirts of
is-
his right now.
Well, I'm not.
Well, she's not.
Yeah, Gary wore this. He would have too.
He would've.
He
He
would've.
would've.
He
On our
would've
funny
so wore that.
Nights or Halloween or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she gave me this shirt, and it was that night, and I hung it on a hanger in the closet. And when I fell asleep, I started to dream that basically, I can't remember word for word of how it happened, but he came into the room in my dream, and I had a big walk-in closet, and I'm laying there in the bed. I felt like I was still awake, but I was sleeping, but it felt so real. It's just it was crazy. It was like I wasn't sure if it was real or if it was a dream. Well, he was in my closet searching through all the clothes looking for this shirt, and kind of jacking the hangers up as he was going along looking for it. And he found it. He pulled it off the hanger, he draped it over his arm, and he walked back out of my closet. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there, laying there in the bed with my ex-husband, and I'm patting on him to get up and to see, oh my God, Gary's back. Gary's here. And I kind of crouched down into the bed and looked up, and there he was standing above me. And he sat down on the bed, he grabbed a hold of my hand, told me, he's like, Heather, I just want you to know that I love you and I'm sorry. Pretty much the exact same thing that he said to Brock.
Yeah.
And he also looked like porcelain. He was glowing. He had like a whitish blue glow around him. And he was there. I really honestly believe that he was there. And after that, he got up and he walked out, and I must have really woke up and tried to wake JT up, and I asked him, I said, oh my God, did you just see Gary? And that's how lively it felt was, you know, me. I actually had to ask him if that was real. Did that really just happen? And he said, no, it was a dream. But it felt so real, and it was amazing because I really believe that was my brother.
Yeah. And I do believe that they can come and visit you in your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I've always believed that because I've had visits. You know, me and Marie lost our parents when I was 23 and she was 21. We lost both of our parents 4 days apart. We were very young. Of course, you know, we already had a couple of kids of our own, but we were young mothers. And you know, that's what kept us going, because that was really hard to go through, losing our parents at such a young age.
Yeah, it would be.
And you know, totally unexpected. But so it's just, we've had a lot of losses, you know, but losing a child is 100 times worse, if not more. It just, you know, you expect to lose your parents. You know, yeah, we didn't expect to lose them so soon, but we expect to lose your parents. You don't expect to lose your child or your brother, you know, and stuff like that, your nephew. So that's a picture of him right there. We have it sitting here in front of the camera. He drew that picture for me. He was an artist. He drew that picture for me when he was in jail one time. He got himself into a little trouble. And I just remember so many times looking at that picture. I had it on my dresser for the longest time after he did it for me. Looking at it, and almost like I knew that one day I was going to be looking at it and he wasn't going to be here. And that thought would always hit me, and it was like I would try to block it, like, no, why am I thinking like that? What's wrong with me? Why do I feel like that about that picture? You know, and I guarded that picture and protected it and dusted it and cleaned it, and it took such, and all the other pictures, of course, are collecting dust, and, you know, I didn't take as good care of all the other pictures, like, you know, this particular picture, it was like I cherished it, and, you know, partly because he drew it for me, but also there was something about that picture, you know, that I just, one time it fell off the shelf and I freaked out. I thought for sure it got broken and it was going to be ruined, and I just flipped out. This was long before he passed away. This is also his hat that is sitting there. He wore that hat up until the day he died. He wore it all the time. What's really strange is that it still smells like him. It still has his smell. Yes. It's still, I can still smell him with that hat.
We gotta cut that out.
Yeah. It does still have his smell.
Oh, it does.
Doesn't it?
Oh my gosh.
It still has his smell. And I smell that hat every day.
I'm just gonna put it over my nose and smell it
I
forever.
know. It just, I smell it every day. It still has his smell, and it's amazing. And it's been a year and a half. And anyway, so I've had some personal experiences too. When I was a kid, I used to think I could see heaven. I'd look out my window at night and stare up at the sky, and I saw heaven. I mean, not that I think I saw it, I know I saw it. And one time my mother walked into the bedroom and she saw me looking out the window, and she said, "What are you looking at? What are you doing? What are you looking at?" I said, I'm looking up there in the sky at heaven. I'm watching all the people up in heaven. She said, what do you mean? And she come over and she goes, I don't see anything. And I said, you don't see that? I said, they're right there. And I was pointing to them. And I see this every night. I saw it all the time. And I just thought it was normal. I thought everybody could see it. I may have been like maybe anywhere between 5 and 7. I'm not really exactly sure how old I was. But it just, after a while it stopped. But I seen it all the time. And when I found out that she couldn't see it and that nobody else could see that, it's like almost like I didn't see it anymore. So I don't know. It's one of them things that, you know, and I used to hear like someone telling, like one time you and I were outside playing and it was in the rain, and all of a sudden I heard a man's voice say, Patty, get inside, get your sister and get inside. Well, I thought maybe it was my dad. I think I might have told you this
Yeah,
before.
you did tell me about that.
I thought it was my dad, but then I realized, wait a minute, my dad's not home. So I'm looking around going, who just said that? It was a man's voice, and it was very deep and loud. So I told Marie, I said, come on Marie, we gotta go inside, you know, and you know, I grabbed her by the arm and we went inside, and as soon as we went inside, lightning struck, hit the fan, blew the fan right out of the window. Remember when that happened? The fan went flying out of the window. We were standing like right there where that lightning bolt came. So that's another thing that I've always thought about that, you know, it's like, who was that man's voice, you know? Was that a spirit from the other side? Was that one of our family members, grandpa, somebody, you know, that passed on, communicating with me? And there's so many more.
I remember you telling me that story when I was a kid.
Really?
So I always remembered it.
Yeah. Yeah, just a lot of little things like that has happened to me. Like one time, I was driving down the road and I was going to make a right turn, and something, I don't know what it was, would not let me make a right turn. The steering wheel was almost like my steering wheel was sticking, like it just did not want to turn right. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going straight now because my steering wheel's not turning. Got up the road a ways, my steering wheel was fine. I'm like, but that was really strange. Why did my steering wheel lock up like that? It would not let me turn right. So on my way back from where I was going, I wasn't there very long. I can't remember where I was going, but I came back the way I would have been, turning right. I was coming back the other. Huge car accident. Probably 10 people died. I would have been right there. It probably happened right around the time I would have been going that way. So that's another thing. I feel like, that there are angels watching over us. We all have, I do believe that we all have angels watching over us. And it was my protector, watching over me or something. Making sure I didn't end up in that accident. It wasn't my time to go.
Yeah.
So, and Marie, she's had some experiences as well. I mean, she's called me many times when she lived in Maryland, freaking out because she hears like voices in her head. And the sound from the EVP, the spirit box, when we're receiving the EVPs, the sound that box makes, that she hears
kind of a
that.
Static radio.
Like a radio
like
static sound. And
it's
she
in
would,
my
That's
head.
kinda how you hear it.
I would be at work and I would hear it. It was kind of like the, but it was so many things trying to come through my head. I collapsed at my job one time. They took me in an ambulance, took me to the hospital. They they did MRIs, they did everything, CAT scans on my head. They said there was nothing wrong with me. Well, I thought I was going to die every time it happened, and it scared the crap out of me. But it was voices. It was bunches of voices. I couldn't pinpoint. I couldn't get them to one to talk. There was just so many of them trying to talk through me that it scared me, and I would run. I would leave my position at work and take off. My manager would come running and walk me around the store. Come on, you're not going to die, because I was always scared I was going to die every time it happened. I didn't know what was going on. Wasn't sure. I don't know. I'm still kind of scared of that part when the bunches of voices come in and start talking, and I can't make out what they're saying because there's so many of them. I wish one would talk to me.
Or was it just at work?
Oh no, it happens all the time.
You still
It happens here. Like if I walk, it happens all the time when I walk into Walmart. I think it's when I get in crowds of people. Maybe the spirits are trying to communicate through me to get to those people. I don't.
Yeah, it could be.
And I can't I can't
very well be.
slow it down enough to make one come through, or so that I can
I know what she's
understand
talking
it.
about because
It's really scary. I mean, it is scary. I wish that when they tried to come through, that one would come through and I could understand it. I would love to help people. I wouldn't want no money to help people. I would love to help people if I could get it to where one spirit would be trying to talk to me and not a bunch of them.
So
But I'm not
that's
scared of it
something-
anymore.
Yeah, that's good.
It doesn't scare me. I know I'm not going to die from it, which, for the longest time I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die, what's wrong with me? Doctor says nothing's wrong with you. Well, it's dead people talking to me. But
Yeah.
hopefully one day that they
I even
will
told
slow it
her that.
down. I've even, when it's happened recently, I even tried to compose myself and not freak out and try to compose myself to where I could try to listen, but there's just too many of them come through at one time, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's definitely scary.
I hear a lot of psychic mediums talk about things like that, when they first realize that the dead is communicating with them. It's a lot of them are trying to come through at once.
I wish I knew how to make only one come through, or to slow the others back. If I try to just talk to them, but I don't know. It's a little scary, but
And Heather's able to, when she walks into a house, she'll know immediately if it's haunted or not.
Oh, I do that too.
Yeah.
You do
It's
that
like
too?
I
Yeah.
get this
My house is
weird
haunted.
vibe.
Yeah, her house
Oh
is
my
definitely
gosh.
haunted with something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
it's
not-
not yet to
it's-
check out some of her surveillance.
It's
Yeah.
it's not evil because it's not tried to hurt us or anything. So it scares the crap out of my dog.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
my house in Seminole was haunted. When we had a paranormal investigator come out to our house after my son died, right before I moved out of the house, we had him come out there. He stayed from 7 till 3 in the morning and put cameras up, and that was our first paranormal investigation experience that night. And we were just blown away, but there was entities in that house, and for
Yeah, there
years,
definitely was.
years, she said that house was haunted. She was afraid to even walk down the hallway. Her kids, when they were born, all 3 of her kids would not go down that hall. They would get scared. My granddaughter Kylie one night got scared and ran back down the hall towards me and jumped in my lap and said there was a big blue ball floating in the air, bouncing and coming towards her, and it scared her really bad. I had people that would spend the night and they would never come back. They were like, I'm
they
not
would
staying
say
in your house.
that house is haunted, and it happened all the time. My friends, when I was a teenager, and that would come over, just lots of different little things would happen, and it would scare people off sometimes.
That's the
Yeah.
room I stayed in every time I came down.
And
Yeah.
the room
It's-
where my
yeah.
brother passed away
Yeah.
is actually one night I had went to sleep in there. It was just me and my daughter Taylor when she was probably 1 year old, 1 or 2. I woke up probably 6 o'clock in the morning, and I heard a woman speaking in my ear, and she was speaking so fast I couldn't make it out, kind of like what you were describing, but it was one person, and she was in my ear, just all this stuff, and I freaked out, and I jumped up out of bed, and it was still there. It didn't stop until I picked my daughter up and I ran straight out the house. As soon as I shut the front door, the voice stopped.
Yeah.
So
I
I was
remember that
terrified
night.
to come back into her house. I was terrified to go back in that room. I never slept in that room again after that time. Never.
And one of Gary's girlfriends, a couple years later, I never told her anything about that. She came out one morning and she says, I had the weirdest thing happen to me last night in there. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, it's like some lady kept whispering in my ear.
Yeah, and that's what it sounded like. It was a
She's,
whisper.
and then, when my grandsons, Logan and Brock, when we gave that room to them when I got custody of them, they got scared in there, especially Logan. He says, I can't sleep in there, Grandma. I'd rather sleep on the couch. He goes, I keep hearing some lady whispering in my ear. And I'm like, oh my God, him too?
Yeah.
So we brought all this to
she
Jody's
was powerful,
attention.
whatever that was.
Yeah. We brought all this to Jody's attention. He was the paranormal investigator that came out to our house, Jody Dean. And so he made communication with this woman. She was really nasty. He actually was arguing with her. She was very
She was
combative.
telling us to get out
Yeah.
and all kinds of stuff.
And then you could hear Gary, my son
Oh,
Gary,
that's really cool.
on the EVP. You could hear him yelling at her, saying,
Get off my property right now.
Yeah, get off my property. This is not your house. This is my mom's house. And it was like a full argument between spirits. And that is just amazing. We've got to talk to Jody about getting a copy of that okay, clip. So anyway, we want to thank everybody again for everything, all the subscribers. We want to thank all you. We hit 1,000. I'm sure you've seen that video already. We hit 1,000 viewers at 107 days, and we never expected to do so well. So we're pretty excited about that tonight as well.
Yes, we are.
And we just wanted to tell you a little bit about ourselves, and that's what we did. There's a lot more we could tell you, but so if you're interested in us doing another one of these type of videos, just let us know in the comment section, and we will do another video where we're just a sit-down video where we just talk and tell you guys a little bit more about us and about our lives and you know, things we have going on and things like that, and things we've been through. And as you already know, we've been through a lot. But we're bouncing back, and we know that's what my son Gary would want us to do. He wouldn't want us to, you know, just fall completely apart, which I did many times. I fell apart. She found me in the closet crying so many times. I couldn't get out of bed for weeks after he passed away. I mean, it was just pure hell for both of us, her and I. We just cried. We just look at each other and cry.
Yeah, it was very rough.
Very
and
rough.
I will say one thing too before we end this video. By getting involved in doing what we're doing here, it's definitely taken all of our minds off of the grieving.
It gives you comfort.
We're still grieving
Yeah.
all the time, every day,
Yeah.
but it's like it kind of takes our mind off of it a little bit and lets us focus on almost communicating with my brother and the people on the other side. And it's a good feeling to know that we're kind of communicating with people where he is. So it's comforting, and it's definitely helped her a lot. She went from crying every single day to kind of focusing on this, and it's a good feeling. And my brother is part of it along the way, and I think that's the big key thing with all this. So
it is.
It helps.
It does. It's definitely helped me. You know, it's given me a new focus, a new direction in life, and he was a big believer in the paranormal and ghost hunting shows and you know, things like that. I remember so many times him yelling, "Mom, you gotta come see this! Oh my God, what this paranormal show's on? You gotta see this!"
He liked John Edwards.
Yeah, he liked to watch John Edwards. He just loved all the ghost hunting and paranormal stuff. So, you know, as far as him being with us and being our spirit guide does not surprise us at all. You know, because he's on the other side now, proving to you guys, proving to everybody that sees these videos, and proving to us every time that they can communicate with us. So, I know that sometimes the spirit box is loud. When we first started doing this, people complained that they couldn't hear it well enough. Oh, we can't hear it. But we could hear it, but then when the video, we keep it so far away, nobody else could hear it. So now that I'm keeping it really close to the camera, I do that. I know it gets loud, but that's the only way I can really make sure you guys hear what we're hearing. And it helps us hear it too as well. So I know it gets loud. We try to cut out as much as we can when it drags on. So sometimes we have to piece our videos together so that, you know, you don't hear a bunch of static.
If
But
you have any recommendations or anything like that, you know, we're new at all this, so we would take anything into consideration. So put that also in the comments. Yeah. Anything that would help us out.
Okay, so anyway, we're going to go ahead and go now. And we will definitely try to do this again. Just let us know if you'd like us to do another one of these little sit-downs where we talk to you guys and everything. And we want feedback. We want, if you have any advice or any recommendations, places to go visit, anything at all, just put it in our comment section. We read everything.
Special
Yes, we do.
shout out to Max.
Yes.
Who
Hey,
became
Max.
buddies on Facebook and Snapchat and.
Yeah, Max Lucero, right? Yep.
Yeah, I think that's his last. I don't know how to spell it, but it's something like that.
All right. Well, I guess that's it, and I don't know what else to say.
Thanks for joining in, and
Thank you.
have a good night.
Thank you,
1,000.
Yes, 1,000
Yay.
subscribers.
Keep it 1,000.
Yeah, we go.
Oh, we're going for 2,000 now.
2,000 now. Yes.
Yeah, no, we're not going to keep it 1,000.
3 more
We're gonna go
months.
up.
Yeah. 3 more months. Maybe we will be at 2,000. You never
Yeah.
know. That'd be awesome.
This was fun, though. We have to do it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It was definitely fun. So, all right. Well, everybody have a good night and
Huggies.
a good day. If you're watching this in the daytime, it's nighttime here right now. I'm surprised the frogs aren't out here chirping.
Usually if you start it, they'll do it.
I know. We have frogs that love to hang out here by my pool, and it's ridiculous. One of them jumped on my face the other night.
Oh, that was funny. We needed the video camera
Oh
for
my
that.
Should've had
God.
an
It
outfit
landed
on.
literally right here, and it just freaked me out so bad.
I wish I was here. I'd have laughed.
Peace
Oh,
out.
All right. Well, peace.
Peace.
Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for viewing. And make sure you share our videos too. If you share them to your Facebook and things like that, that's how we'll get noticed even more. Because we're special.
We plan on running some contests too here soon.
Yes.
We'll let you know. We'll let you know.
Yeah. We are ghost hunters with a sense of humor, if you haven't seen that already.
And we are who we are.
We are who we
act
are.
this way when
Yeah.
we're not behind the camera.
Yes, we do. We're just gonna be who we are. We're not,
We're probably a little goofier.
Yeah.
We hold back a little bit.
We do hold back a little bit, but we are goofy people. We like to have fun and be silly and act a fool, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
Nope.
So that's just who we are.
The ghosts
And
love us.
yeah, they do. So anyway, all right. Well, peace. Have a good night, good day, whatever it is, whatever.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
In this world. This
Yep.
big old ball that we're all
Thank
hanging
you,
out on.
everybody, for
Thank
everything.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate it, and God bless everybody.
Good night.
Good night.